Today I wanted to talk about J.R. by William Gaddis. Before I get into the actual plot and overview of the book, I want to talk about the man William Gaddis himself. William Gaddis was born in 1922, graduated Harvard in the mid 40s, and his first novel, The Recognitions, came out in 1955. And then for 20 years, he didn't write another novel, or at least he didn't release another novel. The Recognitions, first off, was about, as I understand it, was about art and maybe art thieves or art forgeries. And this, JR, is about basically the financial or banking industries. It won the either 75 or 76 National Book Award, and he won a second one later with either A Frolic of His Own or Carpenter's Gothic. I don't remember which, but his books often cover themes of things in a questionably real sense. You know, the idea of art is very slippery. How do you assign, for instance, like a value to a valuable art piece? You know, why is the Mona Lisa, more valuable than a portrait of any other person? And then JR obviously deals with the banking industry, and I think all modern audiences that have lived through sort of the 2008 financial crash kind of understand the odd sort of reality of money and what exactly money is. And the same thing, his later books also discussed law and legal practices, and obviously, you know, what exactly are our lawyers doing. The Recognitions and JR combined, those are like almost 1,700 pages. So Gaddis is a dense guy. And so let's get into this book. JR is about an 11-year-old that sort of builds a quote-unquote paper empire. Essentially, he builds this big just big corporation, the JR Family Corp, I believe it's called, and it's umbrellaed under it are things that really started out as near defunct penny stocks, and they built up, or he built them up, sort of his investments from a couple different basic lessons in capitalism that he learned in fifth grade or whatever grade he's in. And he basically runs the whole business out of his payphone at his school. And his chief assistant is a music teacher that gets fired from his school that he teaches at, named Mr. Bass. And Mr. Bass is only 21-ish, and he knows nothing really about finances or the financial sector, but he gets roped into it because JR lends him some money for the subway at one point, or the train. Decides, okay, well, JR, being the kind of shrewd businessman he is, asks him to sort of repay him back. And so he continues to kind of build this sort of guilt and debt and obligation in Mr. Bast. And Mr. Bast will be sort of the face of the company, and he'll go out, and when it so requires, he makes kind of public appearances, and he eventually becomes like the vice president of the whole company and whatnot. And there are actually a lot of other side stories in major things going on. And as I stated previously, Bast is a music teacher, and one of the main sort of things, this is a satirical novel. One of the main things that Gaddis does is that he uses a music teacher and a couple different guys trying to write their own novels. As kind of examples of what money will do to art. In a satire like this, the moral lesson's always pretty clear, or at least the sort of what's wrong is always very clear. You could argue whether or not there's a moral lesson, but there is a moral, so to speak, in it. It being a satire, JR is 11 years old, obviously kind of a very unfeasible thing, especially for 1975. JR's main inspiration to sort of start all this is he's got a couple like mail-in things, I guess, just sort of what we would regard as spam mail. And he has these things you can like send away and get like free samples of stuff, and he'll trade with this other buddy of his. That's sort of his background. We're sort of supposed to immediately understand when we first meet him. We don't meet him for a couple pages, and we don't really get a good idea of why it's about JR when we're, talking about another family that's trying to settle financial assets and whatnot. Um, but as far as JR goes, Gaddis used him, and I think this was in an interview with the Paris Review. Gaddis uses him because the sort of infantile, childlike sense of wanting is perfect for a Wall Street investor or Wall Street banker. And that's why we get this sort of 11-year-old that really has no idea himself about morality. He just figures that while he's playing the game, he might as well win. He gets that inspiration from a field trip his class takes where they buy a stock in a certain company to sort of show them the value of owning a share in the stock market. Now, the unique thing about this is that this book is nearly all dialogue. The narrator becomes really an afterthought. There are no page breaks, understand. There are no page breaks or paragraph breaks or just right there, no chapters. It's all one continuous thing. That creates is that Gaddis wanted to sort of recreate this sense of being bombarded with information, like, you're switching the dial on the radio. It was his modern analog in 1975. Obviously, I think modern audiences can understand completely where he's coming from with the deluge of information we get from TV and the internet and all this stuff. And so it's almost like a running conversation. And the narration, in 3 lines, if you don't pay careful attention, it'll have, a week or a couple days or a whole night will have just gone by. Honestly, especially the narration parts are very highfalutin, very wordy and high diction. And the same is true for when you encounter a lot of the characters that are actually in the financial district or have experience in it somehow. It doesn't make it easy on you. It's a very rigorous book. As my own personal opinions go, I really liked this because not only is it kind of an intellectual, cerebral book, but it gets really funny and kind of really messed up. There's if you don't mind, there's a lot of kind of misanthropy underlining it all because the basic message is that the people that want money kind of win, and the artists are they fall by the wayside. And I imagine most readers would side or feel at least more sympathetic with artists. But those are my thoughts, and I'm trying to give, a good introduction when I do these videos to anybody that's interested in reading. If you have read JR, or if you have your own thoughts, comment, video response, whatever if you'd like to, you can add me on Goodreads down below, and all that fun stuff. So until next time, bye.